I was returning from work at a very late appointment, and in order to go home, I had to cross the public park on my way. This park was a large area, so thanks to it, I walked inside it for about 10 minutes. I am one of the people who likes to walk, except at the place I live in. There is no window or balcony, and it has a beautiful view, so I was having a lot of fun walking in this park at night. Because the number of people is small, but after what happened, I never felt pleasure again while I was walking at night. One day I was coming home from work at 12 a, and as usual I walked through the park to go home because it was the only way. The world was quiet and the garden was empty. From afar I saw a person standing alone. I was surprised because I am not used to meeting people at this time. When I approached him, I was terrified. It was covered in leaves and blood. And the first observer of my existence, moving towards me faster, looked like he scared me. And I thought, do you think this is a criminal? None of the homeless people we meet on the street? Or is this someone injured and in need of help? I lost my place, thinking that I found him still moving and coming towards me. I also moved forward and decided to ignore him, but I found him standing in front of me, touching me, and starting to scream something. He was telling me to run and escape. Get out of here quickly. You told him, what are you saying? Are you crazy? He told me to listen to my words and run away. If you didn't run away now, you would be swimmers. I knocked on his face because he threatened me. Laura reviewed 2 steps. Then I found him shouting behind him quickly, as if he had heard something or someone yelling at him, even though I did not hear any sound while I was standing next to him. He was terrified, and suddenly he was running away from me. I preferred to stand where I was and look at him. I'm trying to understand this person's money. I returned and looked in front of me and was reassured that the park was empty and the road was as safe as every day. It is not surprising that meeting this man scared me, but I convinced myself that he was one of the homeless. He was not far from being drunk, and this is the secret of his strange behavior. Today I went home and nothing happened. The next day I was coming home from work and walked in the park as usual. I don't deny that I was a little nervous because of what happened yesterday, but I said that this is definitely a situation that I promised and will not be repeated every day. You're not my thinking. From afar I saw a man running towards me quickly. He was also covered in leaves, blood, money, and his clothes. There was another person, different from the one I saw yesterday. I froze in my place. I did not understand anything or know what I was supposed to do. This man did not stop me like the one before him. They were running away from me outside the garden, quickly running away from me. But while he was contagious, he said a sentence in a loud voice. Lord. The pounding made me think I was really running away. But where would I go? There is no other way, and I have to go home. I encouraged myself and kept moving forward with slow steps, and I walked for 2 minutes without anything happening to them. But I began to hear someone singing loudly, someone whose voice was very monstrous. It was clear that he was cheerful and happy, but real. His voice was scary. I looked at the hill next to me, and this made me see a larger part of the garden. And I saw that the person who was singing was a short, strong man, wearing ugly elf clothes, and he was dancing in circles around a large pile of leaves. I asked myself, why am I afraid of someone who wears silly clothes and sings? However, it was clear to him that he was a strong center in singing and dancing. I mean, maybe he didn't care about me. When I passed by his side, I strengthened myself, got down the hill, and walked in his direction, and I wasn't talking to him. All I wanted was for me to walk on my path that I walk on every day and go home. I was about to step away from him, but he suddenly stopped singing and dancing and jumped in front of me. He asked me why I'm not wearing green like him. Don't you understand what he means? I told him, what are you saying? He decided to ask him why I'm not wearing green like him. I told him that I don't like the color green and that I am free to wear what I want. Anger and intolerance. He kept shouting at me and insulting me. I felt he was a crazy person. He stretched out his hand to catch me, but I went back to Laura and sold it. He was going to attack me. I ran quickly and he was running behind me until he caught up with me and knocked me to the ground. He was holding my 2 dragon shields and pinning me on the floor of El Ganina in Egypt. I must wear green. I screamed into it. I told him that if he didn't leave me, I would call the police. He was much stronger than me, stronger than I expected. He took a bunch of leaves in his hand and threw them at Wuxi. Then I found a large staple in his hand that he used to pin these papers on something. I screamed out of fear, and the pen, my brood dam was high, continued for the clouds. Now I know that the men I met before were not crazy. They were victims of this deranged person. At the hospital, Gali, 2 officers actually filed a report. But then what, after something was distorted? I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Leave work or leave home? Because it is impossible to prepare from the Garden of Tani. All I know is that this person definitely has a mental illness, and they need to arrest him before he attacks more innocent people. Ha 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 ha. My name is Leon. My favorite hobby is running on the beach. The sound of the waves and the passion makes me feel energized and refreshed. I regularly run on the sea twice a week, and maybe more because I live only 30 minutes from the beach. I mean, not far away, the weather is still nice and strong. As long as the sun is rising, I also like to see the sunset while running. But at night, the atmosphere is completely different. The dead are high, the sand is cold, and the world remains oppressive and strong. And despite this, I do not take a searchlight or even a mobile phone with me to illuminate the road, and I am running on my shoulders but with the faint beat of the moon. Everything was fairly normal one night when I was out for a run on the sea. My mother tried to prevent me from going out, and she told me that it was very late and the beach would be dark. But I told her not to worry. I am not young, and I can take care of myself, and I will certainly be safe. To reassure her, I took the mobile phone with me. My mother was understanding and never forced me to do anything. I don't want it. The whole story is that she is afraid for me more, and I love her for that. I said goodbye to my mother and left the house, preferring to run from the house until I reached the beach. I put Hand Thrive in my heart, and I was listening to my favorite songs while running. I merged with the music and songs to the point that I ran to an area farther than I am used to running in every time without feeling it. But when I noticed this, I found myself at a deep point on the beach, even far away. I haven't been there before. There are no houses or lights visible in the distance. Because of the darkness, I couldn't see that there was anything under my feet. I stumbled into it and fell on the sand. I moved you to see the mobile phone so that I could see what I was worried about. I found it skeletal. Half of his body is buried in sand. The second text appears. I crawled on the sand to get away from him, but it occurred to me that it wasn't the only structure there. It had about a dozen skeletons in it. I didn't understand where I was going to find this place, but all I understood was that I had to walk from this place immediately. I started running as fast as I could until I was far away from this place. But after I escaped from the bony hills, I felt a strange thing behind my back, as if it had pierced my neck and shoulder from behind. And this made me look at Laura's face as I ran to see what was in it, and what I saw made me die of fear. 1 meter away, there was a dark object running with me. He said he keeps pawning at a terrible speed. I felt like it was going to explode. I don't know who this is or what is running behind me. I didn't want to know everything I hoped that I could just escape from. Put more pressure on my legs to increase my speed. I ran as fast as I could bear it. But when I looked and read again, I found that this terrifying thing was speeding up as well. He was close to me, and there were only a few steps between me and him. I did not know what to do or where to go. My home is still far away, and I have a long time to reach him. I must escape from this unknown thing, which I do not know what it is, nor am I able to see its features clearly. The only action at this moment was to take refuge in the first house that met me on the beach, and ask for help from its residents. I arrived at the door and remained in a rigid panic, hoping that there would be someone inside the house and open it for me. My fear is increasing, and the black creature is approaching me. I kept screaming and I was confused until finally someone from inside opened the door. I threw my body on the floor inside the house, and Laura looked at the door. I felt that he would come in behind me or even stand and look at me, but I didn't find him. Inside the house, there were 6 old women. She was the one who opened the door for me. It was clear to her that she was kind, but she was confused and worried because of my sudden entry into her house. I tried to explain to her what happened, but my fear and the shock I was in leave me. I don't know how to say things well. Is there something going on behind me? Is there something going on behind me? Come, my daughter. You are now safe. Didn't you try to reassure me? I sat on a couch in prayer then, and I was trembling. You asked me, what do you drink? But before she could continue her words, I found her fixed in place. Her eyes widened, and I found her looking in horror at the net behind me. I changed what I see. I was able to understand what she saw. She must have seen the same thing I saw. She preferred to stay in place. Don't say a word. I read and watched to make sure. I found the black body floating outside the net and staring at us. It was about a black halo of fog that was not marginal. Any features that were not visible on his face other than the eye that looked at us without even blinking. At that moment, I realized that the thing that was chasing me was not human. The color of his eyes was the color of fire, and their size was large and strong. The strange thing is that he was standing outside the window and looking at me in particular. The old woman finally moved and headed towards the net, and Fidel was standing in his place. I cannot describe to you the horror I felt, because he is serious about what he means. Suddenly, our hands lifted the life of the net and began to scratch the buzzer with his long claws. We felt that he was trying to enter the house. The old woman grabbed me by the hand, lifted me up from the sofa, and screamed at this, even though her voice was trembling. But she didn't say anything and continued to scratch the net with his nails. And she and I kept walking slowly back Laura away from the net. But where are we going? We're trapped inside the house. When he finished scribbling, we discovered that he was writing us a letter. A simple message that I could read. Run with me again. And like smoke or fog, this thing vanished into passion, and it remains to exist. The old woman immediately called the police and informed them of the presence of a strange creature attacking her house. But when the officers arrived, they informed us that there were no strange creatures on the beach or in the area surrounding the house. Fear. I walk from the old lady's house. This creature is hidden anywhere, and it will appear to me again. So I waited for the sun to rise, and when the day came out, I went. I still don't know the secret of this part of the beach, and I find that it is the cemetery of skeletons that I saw. Is the ghost that chased me one of the people buried there, and the one who killed them and ended their lives? From today on, I stopped running on the beach alone, neither at night nor even during the day, because I will never forget the most terrifying night of my life. I'm still thinking about the letter he wrote on Alcazar's. All he really wanted was for me to run with him on the beach and be friends, and if I had run again, I would have ended up buried among skeletons. To this day, every time I close my eyes, I see big eyes, golden in color, like the color of fire, separating me. Now, I'll tell you something few know about me. Something from my youth I've never forgotten. Although I don't remember what day of the week it was, or how much date it was, the details of the day itself are still in my brain until now. I had a group of friends, and we were always used to playing with each other outside the house, because in our childhood, there were no games on the computer and mobile phone like now. We played a lot of games together, and our family all knew each other. They also used to gather for family visits. One day, I found my father waking me up and telling me that we were going on a trip, and it would not be just a normal family trip. This will be a trip that will bring together all of us, my friends and their families. I'm real. I was very happy. My mother, father, and I had breakfast, then we packed our bags, got into the car, and went out on the road. 2 hours later, we arrived at the place Go in the forest, and I found a big house there. But the thing that made me feel most happy was that I saw the cars of my friend's family parked outside the house. I entered the house and ran over them. I found them all sitting in the hall playing games together, such as Lidos, ladders, and tiredness. My friends Nola and Franco Olidia were very happy when they saw me, and we started playing together all the time, and none of us had any idea what would happen after that. The next day we agreed to play the game of peekaboo. We kept hiding inside the wheels and empty rooms in the house. But our families told us that we were taking a shower, and our voice was loud and strong. And that's why they asked us to play this game outside the house, but without leaving. Of course, at that time we were upset. But now, when I grew up, I understood that they needed to spend a quiet day inside the house. The important thing is that we went running to the fetus outside the house to continue the game of searching. But we noticed from the area around the house that there were no suitable places where we could hide, so we decided to continue the game inside the forest. We walked for about 15 minutes, and we reached a pot of stupidity. It was good and strong, and we were able to find many places in which to hide. We were tired from walking. We sat on the floor to rest, and while we were sitting, Frank began to tell us a story about an unnaturally tall man with a face without features. I still remember how I imagined his appearance as a tall, human, lifeless body, without a face and long, strong claws sticking out of his back. I was very afraid, and Nola too. Pain was on the verge of fear, but Olivia didn't have any expressions on her face. On the contrary, she was calm and impressed. After Frank's scary story, we liked to break away from this horror mode, and we kept telling each other jokes and laughing a lot until our tension was over. And here we agreed to go and play peekaboo. Frank, he closed his eyes and started counting down. The three of us fled, and each of us hid in a place where I saw Nola hiding among the leaves of the trees, but I could not see the place where Olivia hid. I had a clever idea. I'm not hiding behind a tree. No, I climb a tree, sit on one of the branches. It's impossible for anyone to think that I'm hiding up there. I climbed the tree slowly and hid among the branches. True, the place I was hiding in was out of sight, but I couldn't see anything because of the density of the tree's leaves. No, it was. I heard you very well, Frank. He stopped counting and started walking to circle us. Exactly 2 minutes later, I heard a loud scream coming from the bush. I thought that Frank would reveal his whereabouts if he surprised her, and that this scream was because she had passed out. Not more than 10 minutes passed, and I was in my place, not hearing any sound from them or seeing any of them. I cut the branches of the trees with my hands far away so that I could know what was happening. I saw the place where Nola was hiding, but there was no one there. But when I focused, I saw something that made my body feel. The red driver was on the ground. Could it be blood? After that, I found Frank going to the place with the blood, but I almost didn't pay attention to him, or I paid attention to him and wasn't interested. He was talking to someone, but I couldn't see. Who was he talking to? And I was not hearing this person say it, because he was whispering. But I was hearing Frank's voice asking him, saying to him, I found the girl and I did not understand. Who is he asking about? I found him continuing his words. I am sure she is close. She cannot have gone far. Many questions came to my mind. From the girl he means. Olivia, nor am I? I noticed that Frank was acting strangely, making random movements, and smiling scary smiles like a madman. My curiosity increased, and I moved my body forward a little so that I could see well. What I saw was the body of a murdered child. His head was completely shattered in its parts. He went out, so much so that no one can recognize him. But when I looked at the baby's boots and the clothes he was wearing, I was sure he wasn't a boy. This is a girl, and I know her well. This girl remains a country. I felt the world was destroying me, but you owned me so that I wouldn't live from trees. I listened to Franco talking and saying, I got rid of the first girl, it's your turn to get rid of the second girl. I was shocked, and my fear made me think quickly of any way to save my life, and the only way that made sense was to be better in my place until Frank's voice disappeared completely. At that time, I remained sure that he was far from where I was, and that I would be able to get down from the tree and return home. I waited for a long time until I felt that the atmosphere was calm. Later, I quietly climbed down from the tree. But the first time my feet touched the ground, I felt a strong knock on my head from behind, and I did not feel myself, and I fell, and I received a second, stronger blow to my nostrils, from which a large amount of blood came out, and the pain that I felt from the second blow was enough that it surpassed me. I opened my eyes, expecting a laugh Frank in front of me, but isn't that what happened? I met Olivia. She was very sad, and her eyes were full of tears, and she also hit me once with the large stone that she was holding in her hand. I had no feeling other than a strong pain in my nostrils, and it did not burn my eyes to the right. Before Olivia could finish beating Via, I heard the voices of our parents crying out in alarm. Almost because we were too late outside the house, or they can hear us screaming. They got closer to where we were at this moment. Olivia threw the stone from her hand and kept crying, but Frank approached her and said, "F, what are you doing?" I finished with her before they came to see us, but Olivia kept crying and saying that she didn't want to do that. Frank held the stone instead and kept hitting me on the face and my head harder. After 2 more hits, I fainted. When I awoke, I was in the hospital. My father and mother were there with me, standing and talking to the doctor. The doctor was telling them that the operation was successful and that I would be fine within days. I cried in my father's arms, and my mother was standing from afar looking at us, and she was also crying. I asked what happened because I needed to understand. Frank, I am influenced by the horror stories that he reads every day and that he sees in movies. He said that he sees a terrifying creature in his dreams and asks him for things that he does. This is the creature that he told us about before we played the game, and according to his words, he asked him to sacrifice 2 of his companions, and he was the one who convinced Libya that she was helping him as if this was part of the game. She agreed at first, but what crossed her mind was that the issue would become a crime. My father told me that after I fainted, and Libya began to fight with Frank and beat him violently. Perhaps what she did was what shortened my life, but unfortunately the victim was Nola. I followed the news of the incident after that and learned that Franco and Olivia were subjected to trial and that the court decided to punish them as adults, not as children, as they planned and carried out the murder of a child and were trying to kill another child. I really wish Frank spent the rest of his life in prison, but Olivia, I can be a little sympathetic to her, but she's also wrong. For this reason, I ask each one of you that no one's words, no matter who he is, should be carried out, except when the first thinks and imagines what the consequences that may result from this request are.